But this is the first webinar of a 4-part webinar series we're doing here with Todd Ewing. If you have any questions about anything Todd is presenting, feel free to email Todd at the email that you see on your screen right now. If we run long, we won't be able to answer any questions live, and I expect this to run long, so we may not be able to get to a Q&A session. But if it's short, we'll see what questions you guys have. But again, any questions, email either of us, and we can respond back. So let's get right into it. Let me introduce Todd Ewing again. I know you guys know him from a podcast episode that we've done. Todd has over 25 years of industry experience and success as both carrier executive and a direct-to-consumer life insurance marketer. You know, he's helped start and grow some of the most respected life insurance companies' direct-to-consumer sales and marketing teams. And he's been in the trenches, and that's just so huge. And being in the trenches with some of the biggest life insurance call centers in the nation, all of them hiring him for his expertise and experience. He's just seen more data. He's seen more successes and learned from, more mistakes that a lot of these direct-to-consumer agencies are making, and really has just more experience and more knowledge than anyone in the direct-to-consumer life insurance model that I know. And I'm really excited that he's willing to share a lot of his insights about life insurance telesales metrics on this webinar. We'll be talking about his MoneyBall approach, and then the future 3 webinars we have scheduled as well. I know you guys will get a lot of value out of it. So I'll get out of the way here and let Todd take it from here. And Todd, you're there, right?
Great. Yeah, I am. Hey,
awesome.
Jeff, thank you very much. Thank
awesome.
you for the kind words. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to all your great producers out there. It's always a pleasure to work with guys that want to improve. To me, that's really the most important aspect of any business is constant improvement and enhancing your game, improving the metrics, but really being a student to become a master. You never, ever get there. So, Jeff, thanks again. I appreciate the opportunity. Am I live? Is everybody seeing my screen?
There we go. We see you.
Did you see it moving?
Yep, we see it moving. You're live. You're good.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys, I know some of you have heard me speak in the past. If you don't mind, I'm going to give you a quick background. I always wonder when I listen to somebody, I attend a conference, I'm on a webinar, like, does this guy really know what he's talking about? Does he have street cred? Is he going to bring some real value to me, or am I just wasting an hour? Well, I'll let you all be the judge of that. But as Jeff said, this is what I do. For 25 plus years, I hate that number. It sounds like I'm an old guy, right? But for 25 plus years, this is all I've done in direct-to-consumer, D2C, direct marketing in a variety of different capacities. So I'll kind of share the background just briefly because you'll see kind of a comprehensive approach. And these numbers that I'm going to share with you are all based on historical data, most of which I've created myself. So my first job literally was working for software. I was a 24-year-old kid, started selling on the phone. For whatever reason, I could do it. It was easy, and I sold 10 apps my first day. Fast forward 3.5 years later, I sold like 8,000 policies. For real, 8,000 policies. So I had an opportunity to move into management, help the company grow. We went from 8 agents to 80 agents. We went from, small under 10 million to over 30 million in revenue, kind of put SelectQuote on the map. You hear their commercials, you see them, nothing's really changed that much. They just continue to get bigger. I was with them for 13 years, had an opportunity to join a startup company called InsWeb. They were the 3rd company to go public. I was brought on to be the president of their life division. They didn't have a life division, so I built that from scratch. That was a great fun experience because I took everything I learned from SelectQuote and threw most of it out and built not only a better mousetrap, just something entirely different. For example, we used the internet more than anybody had ever done at that time. We did lead segmentation. We knew who all the leads came coming in. We were doing propensity to buy scoring even before it was vogue, like in the last couple of years. The other thing we did is we were selling non-med products way back then and selling UL. I had an agent who in 1 month sold a 40,000 and 80,000 policy. The most that had ever been done in the history of SelectQuote was 15,000. So in my first 3 months, we were targeting and producing huge UL cases. Our average premium in InsWeb was the highest of any direct marketer in the country. We sold to InsWeb. It was profitable. We sold it, and I told all my carriers, hey, we're moving to greener pastures. Transamerica called me said, hey, we're looking for a guy just like you. Come on down. I visited with the executive team at Trans. We spent the whole day. They hired me that afternoon. Said, we want you to build our direct marketing channel. They didn't have one. They were known for give us your rich, your sick, and slightly elderly. We want those customers, but now they wanted to move into the term space and wanted to move into kind of this alternative distribution, which I didn't think was so alternative. I thought it was just the way it's always been done. So for the next 4.5 years, I built out the direct marketing channel. I'm glad to say that all the folks that used to be my competitors, the AccuQuotes, the Matrix, the IntelliQuotes, all those companies, all came over to my fold. And on the Trans side, we went from $0 to $27 million in direct marketing sales. And term, I was responsible for term. So the great thing is I got to crisscross the country for 4.5 years, meeting all the top producers, over 100 top producers, and see their shops and their organization. And after 4.5 years, I realized, wow, this may be a great opportunity for me to take the show on the road and do my own thing. And so lo and behold, I created my own company, Insurance Mind, to share best practices with all the BGAs, IMOs, direct marketers, everybody in our space, how to do things a little bit better, how to deploy technology, how to use our systems, how to be more effective with marketing, and how to close more sales more effectively and efficiently. So today, I still love what I do. I've been consulting for almost 5 years. My passion is to help companies grow. There are so many new tools and solutions and approaches to this new wave of buyers. We continue to move into, this whole disruption and transformation and all those key buzzwords that you hear out there. The truth is nothing has changed in terms of a sale. It's just the modality is different. How consumers are coming to us. We used to think it was cutting edge to do it over the phone. Now that's considered to be passé. Some of the companies that I've been helping with, they don't even do a website. Everything is mobile because they're targeting the millennial generation. And I worked with the company for 3 months and we created texting. We were literally selling policies via texting without ever talking to the customer. What was really interesting, for example, is the consumers, we know they don't want to talk to people. We've known that for decades. But when we offer them the alternative of either talking on the phone with an agent for 10 minutes or texting for an hour, the majority of them chose texting, which is still shocking to me. You all probably have a different experience, but we were targeting the younger generation. There's no question it's moving in that sphere. So, all right, I want to talk this one is called Metrics. I wish I made a movie out of me and had Brad Pitt, starring as me, right? MoneyBall. It was a cool film, great book. It inspired lots of different talks and communications around the water cooler in terms of how do you measure things, how are things done in the past, and what's the new way, right? I love baseball. Baseball is so pure and simple and elegant, and really what it is, it's based on results. Here's how you're doing. You all know that's one of my favorite expressions. Based on results, here's how you're doing. You hit 235 for the season. You didn't have a good year. Another guy has 38 home runs, but only 79 RBIs. That tells me something. A 20-game winner for a pitcher. He's a winner. That tells me something. Standings over 162-game season. It's genuine. If a team is in first place, they literally were the best team that year. So I love baseball because it's a mathematical equation and it speaks a language. So I want to talk to you briefly about that, and we're going to transition over into life insurance sales and the metrics there. So, all right, here we go. So baseball, right? It's the most stat-happy metric there is maybe in our country. Saber metrics are everywhere. Box scores, people, you can still see it in Central Park and all over the place. People are arguing over, should Babe Ruth be the home run king? Is Barry Bonds, should he have an asterisk next to the Hall of Fame? What about Pete Rose? It's debated. It's part of our national fabric, right? But it's all based on numbers. That's what's so great. And the crazy thing is that the differences between millions of dollars and being a utility player is very, very slight. It's minute differences that make the difference between a legend and an above average hitter, okay? So I wish I had audio that I could hear back from you, but Hall of Fame, that is the mantle of, no pun intended, that is the mantle of whether you're great. Not just good, but great, exceptional, extraordinary. So my question to all of you, how many do you think have hit over 300 players in the history of baseball? Thousands and thousands of players have hit over 300. You'd be shocked, I think. It's less than 200. It's only 178 all time ever have hit over 300. That is the pinnacle, right? That's the benchmark, okay? The majority of those made the Hall of Fame. You know those names. If you go to any of the baseball encyclopedias, or you go to any of the metrics and the numbers, you'll see all the names that you know and love. Mantle, Cobbs, Jackson, right, the Babe. Of the current players, there's only 12 current career hitters. Think about that. Of the thousands of players, there's only 12 current 300 hitters. What does that tell us? It tells us hitting 300 must be very, very difficult. Wow. I mean, 12? 12. There's only been 2 players, everybody, in the history of baseball that have made the Hall of Fame, right, that have hit exactly 270. Only 2, Willie and Johnny Evers. There's been more than 800 players who have hit over 270. That's a lot compared to 178, right? That's 80+%. Do the math. They're notable. They're really good players. They made the major leagues. They had a career, maybe short one, but they're not memorable like Hall of Famers are. You couldn't just list off all those names. So there is something magic about 300. It is the magic number, right? So I want to talk about the difference. So I did some research on this. What does a 270 contract, a 270 average get you? It gets you a contract. You can play in the major leagues at 270. 300, you get endorsements. People know you. You have candy bars named after you. 270, you're going to make the team pretty much year in, year out until you get hurt or they have better people coming along. If you're batting 300, you're making the All-Stars. The All-Star used to be a big deal when I was a kid. Maybe not so much, but the All-Stars was awesome. All the way from Little League to Major Leagues. All-Stars mean you really have arrived. If you bat 270, your average career is 5 years. That's not that long. I mean, you're still in your 20s. Let's face it, you have your whole life in front of you. If you bat 300, you're going to be playing for 12, 15, 17 years. Lifetime career. 270, you get good money. Now everybody gets good money, right? But I mean, it's, millions. But the 300, you're sharing that wealth from generation to generation. Alex Rodriguez, 25 million. Pujols, 25 million. Strasburg, there's some other names recently. Just crazy, crazy numbers out there. $25 million a year for 10 years, right? If you bat 270, you're above average. Let's call 250 average. 300 is legendary. So what's the difference, everybody? Based on 600 season at bats, that's like playing 150 games at 4 bats a game, maybe a little bit more. The actual difference in hits between the 300 leader and a 270 hitter is 18. 18 hits. 18 hits per season. That's 3% of 600 at bats. 3%. You got a bunt. You beat out an infield single. You hustled more. You got a bloop. 18 hits and you're batting 300 compared to an above average hitter. So 97% of the time, subtracting that 3%, they're just like everybody else. They hit 270. They get an out, an out, an out, an out, an out, an out. They get one extra hit, right? They get one extra hit. It's that 3% extra. It's really, I mean, this is the other one that's amazing. It's one more hit every 9th game. Not even every day. Not even every other day. So that's what's amazing to me about sales is you don't have to blow everybody out of the water. You just have to be a little bit better than everybody else, right? So for sales, it's a game of inches. I like that because it's a baseball analogy, but it really is. We know that expression. Hey, talk to 10 people, set 3 appointments, go out and see 2 people, and you're going to make 1 sale. I think that's so old-fashioned and old school, right? With D2C, you multiply that by a factor of 2 and you add a 0. When you're selling over the phone or when you're using technology and systems, you can literally double, you can 10x your volume, and you're going to have multiples of 2 because your expectations are going to be higher because your premium is lower. Okay, so think of volume, and yet success is not more about just upping your volume. It doesn't mean just taking more at bats. In fact, like in basketball, somebody who's not shooting well, you don't want them to shoot anymore, right? You're not going to be a legend by hustling more. I think that's paramount. It is important that you do that as a baseline. I believe in the hustle factor. It's super critical to success, but it's not what's going to define you. What's going to define you is learning your craft and mastering the subtleties that make you better. It's about incremental improvements that are defined and measurable data points. So we're going to jump into the heart of the metrics here. Okay? Breakage. It's a common term within the direct marketing D2C channel. It simply is a way of saying, hey, we failed. Our sales conversions as an industry continue to slide. You would think it would get better. It's gotten worse. I'm still on the advisory board, and I still have a stockholder for Select Board all these years later. So I see the reports, and it's crazy. What we used to do back in the day, back in the 90s when I was there, compared to today, you would think that things would get better, the conversions, the throughput. They're not. Exam completion rates are flat to declining. The industry averages are so poor that obviously that's one of the reasons why executives at the carrier level and reinsurers are trying to define new non-med products. Who wants to do a medical exam? Let's face it. Carrier placement ratios at an all-time low. And just so we all speak in the same language, a placement ratio means that the app was submitted to a carrier, pick on Trans, so Transamerica has the application, it's in underwriting, and now they're trying to make a decision whether they're going to get it approved or declined. So a carrier placement ratio means that it's at the app's at the carrier, and what is the throughput from at the carrier all the way to paid? It's at an all-time low right now, guys. It's staggering, and we'll talk about why that is. So 25% of the cases that go to a carrier come back AOTA, I call it AOTA, approved other than applied. 25% of cases are approved other than applied. That's a nice way of saying, wow, we thought we were going to get you a super preferred rate, but as it turns out, that diabetes kind of kicked in, and it looks like you're now going to be a table 2 at 3x the price. Could you imagine, everybody, if you went to Best Buy and you walked up there with a DVD player, a Blu-ray, whatever you're purchasing, and a quarter of the time, they charge you more money than what you saw on the sticker? That'd be crazy. But that's the industry we live in. 25% of cases are AOTA. Persistency of non-med policies is problematic. I worked with a company that decided to go 80% of their business, they wanted to sell non-med. A, it's a cash flow issue, right? B, they wanted to pay the agents fast. And then C, they wanted to make sure that they were supporting their new initiative. So they went from 20% non-med to 80% non-med, and we were all stoked. It took us a couple months to help them achieve that, and we were just, this is amazing. Look at our cash flow. Look how quick we're getting paid. It's going through. Guess what? The downside of non-med is it doesn't stick. The persistency is nowhere close to what it is if it's fully underwritten. Then we'll talk about that. There's a word for it. It's called shock lapsation, meaning the customer hears a quote, they hear an ad on the TV, the radio, Byron Udell says, hey, save 70%, or hey, did you know you can get life insurance for as little as $18, and they're paying $86 for a non-med. That's been the challenge, is the delta in price between the non-med and the fully underwritten is too severe. Okay. All right. Know your numbers. I love the numbers because, as I said, it speaks a language. If you look at the best direct marketers in the shops, like the eFinancials, the AccuQuotes, the Matrix, the Select Quotes, I can give the Life Quotes. There's probably a top 15 of them, right? There's not a ton of them. There's like 12 to 20 that are really, really good and big. Then there's lots of outliers. But of those ones, they literally swim in data. They swim in number for every agent, every marketing source, every lead type, every data point that you can imagine. They have an analysis attached to it. So it goes from everything from what type of lead they got to how much the premium is generated to how many apps they got out to how many came back. It goes all the way down the line. It is a CFO's dream to see all that data. But as executives and as managers, it's critical to manage to your numbers. So we're going to talk about those here. For all of you independent producers, Know your numbers. I'm just always shocked when I ask people, hey, what's your close rate? I don't know. What's your conversion percentage? I don't know. What's your placement? What's your average premium? They don't know. If you don't know your numbers, how are you possibly going to improve? How do you know if you're doing well, average, or Hall of Fame? You need to know your numbers. So the first one is marketing return. When I say marketing return, it's like, okay, you're going to go buy leads. You're going to go advertise. You're going to do something to generate leads. There's no magic bullet that free leads just come in for free. So you're going to do something to generate leads. What's it cost to get a person to talk to on the phone or to submit a lead via the web? What's that cost for you? What's your marketing return? The next one is what's your sales or close rate? You have to know that. I don't care if you use the old-fashioned way and you literally have a piece of paper and you just use a scratch pad and you just okay, I talked to 10 people today and I wrote 4. You have to know those numbers and every day to improve it. When I used to sell, and God, way back when, I wanted to have a 90% close rate. And if I didn't, like on a Monday or Tuesday, like if I talked to 20 people and I only sold 16, like 80% close rate, the next day I knew that I needed to get more doubles. I needed to get more husband and a wife. I needed to call after my deadwood, and that didn't count as a new lead because I wanted a 90% close rate because that got me this huge other bonus. And I was driven by that. But I was also driven by the fact that I wanted to set my own targets and exceed them. The only way to do that is to have your goals based on stretch goals, stretch numbers, okay? Know your close rate. What's the client completion rate? Anybody can get an app out. That's nothing. I literally, everybody on this phone, if we spent a couple hours together, I would teach you the 7 habits in detail. I can teach you how to get an app either online or mailed out to a customer at a very high percentage. My close rate, that skill is off the chart, maybe one of the best in the country. However, it means nothing. 0 if it doesn't come back, if they don't complete the exam, if they don't mail the money back in, if they don't send the money back in, if they don't complete it electronically. So the completion rate from the client is so powerful. I trained a couple of agents in the past that became so good with my practice and my approach that they would tell me, Todd, they can't say no to me. The problem was they were over 100% close rate, but only like 45 to 50% of their apps were actually going into underwriting. I would rather have somebody at 80% app out rate and getting 60% come back in because they're like at 48. If you do the math, they're at 48% app out to the carrier, whereas that other guy that couldn't have people say no, he's more in the low 40s. So the other approach actually works. You have to have people convinced to complete the process. Carrier issuance. This is one that's a little bit more out of your control, but we'll talk about how you can improve that. That has fallen dramatically. It's because people aren't writing with the right companies, and they're just throwing it against the wall, but we'll talk about it, and we're not doing good follow-up. Policy paid ratio. That's the end of the day. That's really what it is. So it's like, okay, we had the policy issued. Now does it go paid? Believe it or not, anywhere from 3 to 10% of cases that get approved as applied for never go paid. Isn't that hard to believe? It's like leaving it in the shopping cart. Again, it's walking up to the Best Buy counter and 10 times out of 100, you forgot your wallet. You walk out. You actually don't get the policy. That's ridiculous. But the ultimate measurement, folks, and this is one you need to chart, is the ROMI, return on marketing investment. What is your dollar spent to paid commission? Dollar spent to paid commission, that's going to show you if you're profitable or not. Dollar spent to paid commission. We'll talk about that. Okay, here are all the averages, and they vary widely. You see that. They vary greatly by lead source, cost, and agent. If you buy an expensive lead, back in the day, it would be SEO, search engine optimization. If you bought a keyword like term life or life insurance right through a Google or a search engine, you get paid like $10 for that keyword. Still today you can. And only 1 out of 10 of those people would actually submit a request for a quote or an app. So now you're at $10 for that keyword times 10. So it's $100 for that lead. It's an expensive lead. That's pretty good, right? So that should convert at a substantially higher rate. If you're buying remnant is meaning that it's like that stuff that somebody went online and they said they were interested in life insurance 8 months ago because they got a free trip to Hawaii or something if they submitted it. So then direct marketers and call centers, they buy that old data and they put it into their dialer, into their call systems, and then they power dial them and they get them on the phone. Those leads only cost like 50 cents. There are agencies that do that successfully because they deploy the telephony and all the data in a telephone system, and then they bring it to their agent once it's been vetted out. However, here are the numbers in general, and they do vary, but we'll talk about kind of where the average of the average is. So leads to app out, it's dramatic, right? 8 to 65, it's like all over the board. The difference is in the quality, okay? If you buy the cheap stuff, there's a good chance it's not going to convert very well. If you're buying the more expensive stuff that's been vetted out and the customer really is raising their hand saying, I have high intent, then you're going to close higher. We'll talk about the formula to show which one's more successful. In my opinion, it's a blend. You can't have everything. You have to have a mix of high quality leads and average leads. You don't want low quality leads. Although there is an interesting story, I went to work for, I had a month assignment with this one pretty good sized direct marketer, they're up and comer, and they were saying that their close rates are terrible. So I pulled a little stunt with their agents, and I got to know them. They all like me. They believe me. I was helping them grow. And then I said, hey guys, we're going to buy some new leads. They're going to be pretty expensive. They're going to be really good. So when the calls come in, I want you to close them at a high rate so we can continue to get these. So guess what? We gave them the exact same leads we've been giving them. It was like dopamine, right? It was like we tricked them thinking that they're getting higher quality leads even though they're the same. The numbers went up 33%, 35% to be exact. Literally a third better just because they had the mindset that they were better quality leads. I was just trying to prove a point. We told them everything afterwards, but it's not all in the quality. Your next one is app out to app back. That's a fancy way of saying you sent an app to a customer, did it come back into underwriting? Whether it's electronic or digital or whether it's snail mail or whether you're in their house, right, and you're picking it up, did it go into underwriting? And this is, again, a big difference. You know, about half to 3/4 of it come back in. I hate that less than 50% of them come back, but that is the nature of our business. So there's two different ways to play it. You can either be aggressive on the front end, and note this because they work in reverse order. If you're super aggressive and you have like a 65% app out ratio with the same quality leads as somebody else is doing like 40%, I promise you that your app back ratio is going to be lower because you're creating a sale that really wasn't a sale. There's techniques that you can do that where you can make the customer say yes, but when they hang up the phone, they're going, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have the nurse come over. I'm not going to mail the check back in. But if you get them convinced, and if you have a lower front end, but you have a huge return rate, you can still make that work. So those two together, the combination of those two together is actually the most important factor. Leads to app back, not leads to app out, but leads to app back is what I measure. Okay? All right, so the next one is app submitted to policy approved. So this is a saying the carriers are getting anywhere between 29% and 13% that never goes approved. It just dies on the vine, literally dies on the vine. It doesn't get declined and it doesn't get approved other than applied for or approved as applied for. It just dies. That's terrible, right? It means that the customer just hanging because probably an APS or they didn't another question. It means that we didn't do a very good case management job, but that happens. Policy approved to delivered. Policy approved to delivered. That means that it was approved and it could be AOTA, other than applied for, it can be approved as applied for. If it's approved other than applied for, you're going to have huge breakage. You can see it's only 74%. 12% of the time, at the maximum, is the policy actually gets delivered to the customer. The other times they say, no, I'm not interested. 10% of all cases, by the way, are declined across the board. Between 9 and 12, depending on the carrier. It's a magic number. 10% are declined, so you can just lock that off immediately. Okay. Then the policy is delivered to paid. I talked about that earlier. It's shocking to me that people would get their policy in the mail and they never open it up and there are delivery requirements in it. They have to send a check back or they need to sign an endorsement or an amendment. something happens there. Obviously, if you're going face-to-face, that number should be substantially higher, although you're using for travel time and all those other things. So, but it's not done until it's paid. And you have to track every one of these components. So if you look at the whole thing, your net conversion, that's a word that is bantered around within the industry all the time, your net conversion. Like that means from lead to paid policy. Your net conversion is anywhere from 1.5 to 33%. When I shared this with some other folks, they said, I don't believe anybody's doing 33. I kind of don't believe that either. The best that I've ever seen, let me put it this way. When I was at SelectQuote, I was doing 25% net close rate. And that was the best in the company. And now it's anywhere between 4 and 5% from some other direct marketers. The typical number, guys, is somewhere around 10%. I can't name names, but your big carrier, your big direct marketers are anywhere between 8 and 16%. We'll talk about how that math plays out. The truth is, when you're smaller, there are a bunch of smaller entities that are moving into the direct space, and I'm helping tons of producers just like yourself start their own kind of direct marketing. The numbers are higher. They're a lot higher because you have more focus and you have more energy on it, and you're deploying really the best practices as opposed to cherry picking, which is what happens when you get into these huge call centers. After a while, they get jaded by the quality of leads being poor. So they have 4 bad phone calls in a row, and then the next one is a good call, but they've been burned so many times, they jump at the client or they're too quick, so they don't make the sale. So that's why I was talking about every call has to be unique. Otherwise, you're going to let it bleed one call into the next. It's amazing. I sat with a guy in a company up in the Pacific Northwest. I literally got on the floor because this guy should have been better than he was. I was surprised. His net conversion was just terrible. And he was a smart guy, but he wasn't too smart, but he should have been more successful. So I sat with him. He got 16 phone calls in a row that were terrible. I mean, terrible. This is a company that bought Remnant. It was garbage, like decline. The last one was an opportunity, and it was a good call, but he was so burned out by all those other bad calls that he walked that client. And it turned out that client called back and they went to somebody else because they really wanted to buy. Turned out to be like a $2,800 premium, which is a good sale. Okay, 1.5 to 33. So the triple play, write these all down, or you can get them. But the triple play, right, in D2C, direct to consumer, these are the 3 most important factors that make up your success. The CAC, the customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost to get a lead? So, the SelectQuotes of the world are, and the Matrix and all these guys, because they have huge accounts and they buy in bulk and volume with, MSN and Yahoo and Google and all these other big accounts, and they have affinities. It could be anywhere from, $18 to $50. Some of the smaller remnant stuff can be 50 cents, as I said, to $10. It depends. If you're doing search, there's a company right near by me in Sacramento that was paying $120 per lead. And they were golden. But when they give those to their agents, they had a very high expectation. So your CAC is going to be all over the place. It doesn't really matter because these next 2 components are what factor it all in. So the ultimate conversion, your net conversion, right? What is your leads to paid? So these are the things you'd study. How much am I spending on marketing? What's my net conversion, my leads to paid? And then the last one is, what's my premium? How much am I getting per policy? Forget the premium because you need to consider the commission structure. There's a company out there right now that's paying over 150% commission first year. 150. There are other companies that are paying like 90. So you write an $800 case. You got the 90% one. You're looking at what, $720. If you're at the 150 commission one, you got $1,200 commission. Huge. Enormous difference. So you need to know what your commission is per policy. Those 3 factors. How much is the lead? What's your net conversion? And how much are you generating on average per case? You have to throw out the outliers. You can't count that $12,000 case or premium financing or huge UL. You have to look at the median number for your volume of cases. Okay? So here's how we're going to do the math. With an 8% net conversion, I told you that's a low end for some DMs. At $50 per lead, you have to just do the math, right? You're multiplying basically 8% times $50 gets you $600 is what it costs you for your marketing spend to get an in-force policy. You better have one heck of a good premium, right? If you have a net conversion of 8% and you're spending $50 per lead, you're spending $600, a little more, $600 in marketing costs for an in-force policy. That's not going to work very well unless you're in the, I don't know, over $2,000, okay? Success. So watch this. I know this is harder math, but we're going to go through it. All right, a lead costs, company A, it costs them $20. Their net conversion, so they get 100 leads. They close 9 out of 100. So that 1 out of 11 cases gets closed. If you do the math, go down to the CAC, 1 out of 11. So $20 times 11 is $220 is their average marketing cost. Okay. The premium they're generating per policy on that crappy lead that only costs $20 is $500 because they're doing final expense, they're doing simplified issue, non-med, it's mixed in. Obviously, the lower the leads, chances are the lower the premium. So 220 divided into the 500 gives you a marketing to premium cost of 44%. That's no good. In the direct marketing world, this equation is held true. It doesn't change. You want it to be somewhere in the 30 to 35% to be able to make a profit. 30 to 35% of your marketing costs, of your premium, is going to be in your marketing costs. Why is that? Because another 20 to 30% is going to be in your agent comp, another 20 to 30% is going to be in your OPEX, and another 10 to 20% hopefully is in your profit. So there's not that many pies you can slice it. It can't be more than 35%. With some of the independents out there, yeah, you can play around with it more, but if you're doing volume, there's too many other ancillary expenses. Company B, so they're going to buy more quality leads. They're going to spend 2.5 times, 50%. And their conversion doesn't go up 2.5 times. Their conversion is almost barely double, not even double. 17%. Their net conversion is 17%. Their average premium is 60-something, 65% higher. Look at the bottom line number, though. Their CAC is $280. You divide 17% times 50 gives you $280 for your CAC, cost of acquisition. And then you divide the 280 by the 850. Your marketing cost to generate an 850 premium is 33%. That makes more money. So people look at this and they say, well, I thought I had to have my marketing low. Not really. You just need to have 2 out of the 3 that work. You need to have an affordable marketing cost. You got to have strong conversion, and then you have to have a good premium. I mean, you could take that lead cost and triple it. You can make it 150 if your average premium was over $2,500, or if your conversion was more like 40%, 33%. So there's lots of different ways to play it. Okay, profitability equals less than 35% spent on marketing. In all your individual cases, that may be a little different. Your OPEX, your admin costs, your space, some of those other things might not be as intensive and far-reaching as a direct marketer. But know all your expenses. I'm always blown away, the other thing, by how nobody knows what their own budget is. How much are you spending on everything? What about magazines, subscriptions, the internet, the phone service? I mean, it just goes on and on. All these nickel and dime things that you think, how come I'm not making any money? It's because you didn't account for all of your expenses, okay? Metrics is a fancy word for math, right? A leading direct marketer averages 8% conversion. True number, yikes. With a 3% increase, a 3% net increase, that's huge. It gives them a 37% improvement in their EBITDA numbers. Allows them to grow their staff and allows them to create a new product offering. And they make literally, this is a true case study of a company that I helped. They made millions more in revenue, millions more. Awesome. 8% to 11%. Doesn't sound like much. 3% net increase. All right, how are we going to do a 3% net increase? In your cases, guys, it should be 10 to 20, but I'm just keeping it simple, 3%. 3%, that was the Hall of Famer, right? 18 more hits, 3%, that's what you need to do to go from above average to Hall of Fame, 3%. There are 5 different buckets. So Generally speaking, you want to establish a robust reporting mechanism. I don't care what tools you use. I don't care if it's scratch paper or Excel, or if you have a more fancy CRM and agency management system. You need to know every one of your metrics. Measure everything: conversion by lead source, demographic, agent, premium, state, age group. I mean, literally measure everything. You'll find crazy trends. I got so enamored with this kind of sabermetrics that we built an artificial intelligence at one of the companies, because I was noticing the differences in close rates between agents was so dramatic that we started to say, who are they closing really well? We did an intensive study to find out that this one agent did really well with females, and this other agent did really well with people on either side of the coast. He was a little bit more intensive, so he liked California and New York kind of people. And so what we did is we started giving them all those leads. We gave this one person all the females, and we gave this other person all the people from California, Arizona, Washington, Pennsylvania, New York. I mean, so it's amazing what you learn when you really look at your numbers. Ensure the validity of the data, no cannibalization. We'll have to talk about that another time, but you have to be careful about what you're looking at, and do you have all the right data? There's a ton of mistakes that can be made out there, but be careful with cannibalization. A/B testing methodology is probably the most powerful tool. It's so simple, but run a constant root test for yourself of 10% and run that against everything else. And then you're going to try new benchmarks and new methodologies, whether it's in marketing or your presentation, but always have an A/B test running for everything. And then factor in seasonality and source rates. And then modality. Are they coming to you vis-a-vis an iPhone? Are they coming to you with the rotary line? Are they coming to you on the computer? Are they coming to you with an iPad? Are they coming to you from text? I mean, what's the source? Is it Christmas time? Is it summertime? And then, again, the modality is really important. We are learning that we should, I mean, it sounds obvious, but stick with the modality in which they arrive. If they come to you via X channel, continue in that mode. Okay. All right. So now grab your pens, grab whatever, because we are going to talk about the methods for improvement in the 5 core buckets. So the first one is in marketing to leads. How do you improve this? Marketing to leads. Develop a propensity to buy scoring system. Okay. Know who your customer is. Track that. There are people that are more likely to buy than others. Social media and Facebook and some of those other things are very, very telling. It's amazing what is out there. Big Brother is out there. I helped a company in Silicon Valley, and they had people signing up via Facebook to their app, and then they crawled their Facebook because the consumer gave them permission, and they knew when they went to bed at night, they knew whose birthday party was coming up, and we created this whole propensity to buy P2B scorecard for all of our agents. We knew what their cost, how much their house costs approximately. We knew if they went to library. We knew what they bought on Amazon. It was crazy, and it works. Okay. Use comprehensive marketing outlets. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. It just fails. It just will fail. I don't care how great it's going in the beginning. Apple stock doesn't stay up forever. Okay. So you have to have a diversity in your marketing. Social media. Whether you like it or not, it's everywhere. It's here to stay. It's not just the millennials. It's not just the Instagram. It's not the teenagers. It is our world. It's moving there. Join it, or you're going to be left behind. Think the UX. UX is just simply means the user experience. CX means the customer experience. UX usually implies, like if they're online, what's that experience like? The customer experience, or CX, implies what's it like for them to buy solar from you? What's it like to go to this restaurant? What's that experience? Is it positive? But you need to think about that with every touch. You don't have to have the lowest price. People always say, every BGA that I ever talk to always tells me their differentiator is their service. I mean, if I had $1 for every time I heard that, I'd be retired. And like, it's their service. Really, how do you define that? I mean, it's just a word. So really know it beyond belief that you need to create a phenomenal customer experience. I'm going to say something that may sound sacrilege. Forget the middle market. Forget the middle market. Why? Because everybody's going after the middle market. Everybody and their brother wants Mr. or Mrs. Middle America. Focus on the forgotten. Target somebody that you can become the expert, be it single moms. Women in general are awesome. They're underserved. Truck drivers, police officers, smokers. There's a company that's doing very well with just smokers. Go after the universities. Go after the old age waivers, the smart people that are trying to do yoga. I mean, pick a sector, pick a section, and become the master with it. I was helping a company recently, and we went after moms. And I actually wrote a blog on it. It's like, it's Mom's Day every day. So this company celebrates Mother's Day every day. That was our campaign that we created. Guess what? They got so much publicity from all the surrounding communities. They just thought it was so cool that they were celebrating mothers. So there's an opportunity to go after a target market and own it. Bucket 2. I mean, guys, obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg on all these buckets. These are courses, these are sessions, this is what I do for a living. So I'm just kind of giving you some high-level highlights here. Bucket 2, leads to sale. The most important one, no question in my mind. I was just talking to a lead aggregator yesterday, and he said, Todd, it's crazy how the delta between one company that we give the same leads to and the next. And I said, I know, it is crazy, Rick. The difference is in their presentation, because one agency doesn't know how to sell over the phone and another one does. Or one agent knows how and the other one sitting right next to him doesn't. It is dramatic. Perfect your presentation. My 7 habits work. I only gave you the first 4 for those of you who listen to it, but it's way more intensive than just what I presented in an hour. So there are tools of the craft that you need to work on every single day to make your presentation the very best. Know your customer. Customize everything for them. Have a great experience. If they have dogs, know about that. If they have kids, if they live on property, I mean, I'm just describing myself right there. It's like somebody who relates to me, not being my friend, but knows my environment and knows my situation, knows that I work late at night usually because I try to do stuff for my kids in the morning. So that's going to make a difference for me. That's going to resonate. Website. I have my own. I built it. I'm no website master by any means. And it's not the most interactive thing, but I mean, we built it for our own kids, 12-year-olds. There's tools out there. It's Wix and GoDaddy. They're free, basically. It's so simple. Just do it. Most of them still suck because they don't make it interactive. They just make it brochureware. You have to have it engaging and interactive with the consumer. If you look at my daughter's one, it's crazy. It's like got music and horses everywhere and stuff flowing. It's crazy. But you need to make it easy. If you're going to build a website, allow for self-direction. Customers don't want to go to a website and then call somebody. Let's face it, that's been the case for 20 plus years. It's only gotten more extreme. Like, I don't want to go to a website and then have to pick up the phone. That's ridiculous. I should be able to transact everything right here. So create a tool for them to submit a lead, do something on a self-directed basis. That is no question our future. Modality, response must match their customer entry. If they send you an email, respond with an email. If they send you a text, respond that way. If they send you a link, kind of link back. You need to stay within the modality in which they respond. Your leads to sales is the fun part. Remember, it's the fun part. The obvious stuff is the e-signature, when you call people. There's a study out I can share with everybody on a side note. It talks about when is the most powerful time to call somebody back. How many days later and at what time? I can share that with you later. It's pretty interesting. I learned something from that. What are your touch points? How are you communicating over and over? What's your drip campaign with them? How are you connecting with them on mobile? And then my other one is the spouse. You hear me talk about that all the time. Really engaging the beneficiary. That's why they're buying in the first place. I love number 2. I love bucket number 2. Bucket number 3 is equally critical because if it doesn't come back, it means nothing. You have to eliminate the exam. Sell more non-med. Nobody, let's face it, nobody has time. Nobody has a predilection to have a stranger come out to see them. We're just getting crushed by the exam incompletion rates. You need to start selling non-med. There's some products out there, Sagicor, Principal, Phoenix Life. I can go down the list, Assurity, Pru. It's the whole movement. The entire industry is going that way. It's what I've been preaching forever and they're finally catching on. find cases. Money makes it sticky. Get money up front. Get the commitment. It's shocking to me how many people just, COD and it never goes D. Never goes D. Create urgency. There's a million tools. I mean, literally, I have a million of these. How do you create urgency for a customer to say yes, to do the exam, to complete it, to take the next step, to write the check? Urgency. You have to create urgency and write those out. What are your strategies behind that? Backdating is so a lost art. It's crazy. It comes up more than 50% of the time. You can either save age or backdate a case, save the client money, put it back in their pocket, and they trust you. And your credibility goes way up. Backdating, but create urgency. Write that out for yourself. What are the 3 or 4 things that I'm going to create urgency to every one of these buckets? Emails. Don't be a pest. I mean, we think that we're following up with customers by haranguing them and sending them millions of emails every single day. It's not. That doesn't work. You need to provide value, and they need to be different. So write out your touch point strategy. Guys, they go to the batting cage. They work out. They eat right. The Hall of Famers, they do, for the exception of Babe Ruth and a few others, but they do things that make them successful. So the same thing for you. It means that you're going to have to do some work tonight or tomorrow, that you're going to have to write out all your email touch points. You're going to have to write out all those letters. You're going to have to write out the urgencies. You're going to have to write out habits 1 through 4. You need to put the time in, right? But it can't be just like, oh, I sent an email to a customer 3 days in a row. I don't know why they're not responding. Because you're being a pest. You're not providing any real value to them, okay? Mobile, text. Everybody looks at text. Everybody looks at text. What I used to tell my brother, just keep it short. If I wanted a long one, I'd have you send an email. Keep it short. Beneficiary, we talked about that. It's the key to the completion. Find a way to be able to reach out to the beneficiary once the app is out to them. Talk to the beneficiary. Connect with them. Okay. Bucket 4, underwriting. Write the right company up front. That's obvious, but why is our placement ratio so bad? Because we still are sending the wrong product and the wrong clients to the wrong companies. Reduce AOTAs. Ask all the questions. I can't stress that enough. Stop throwing it against the wall. You can hear my voice going up. I'm getting passionate about that. Stop writing AOTAs. It's a waste of everybody's time, and nobody gets paid. From a carrier perspective, to your case manager, to you, to the client, we just wasted 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 months of everybody's time, and nobody got what they wanted. They didn't get a policy. You didn't get paid. Carrier didn't get something on the books. Stop writing crap that's becoming AOTAs. Get it up right the first time. I can live with you didn't know about it in the APS. That's the only one. But they shouldn't be 25%. They should be 10%. Okay? And then how to place your AOTAs. There's a method to that. It's a whole approach. Placing AOTAs is one of the greatest things there is because that's something that not everybody can do really well. And if you master it, it's like putting free money in your pocket. Client follow-up. Employ your best case managers. You all have heard the expression, agents are not great at the details or the admin. It's true. At some point, when you get big enough, go get great case managers. They are the glue that holds your thing together. Figure out the APS tracking. If you're dealing with high net worth customers, you're going to have APS. There's just no other way around it. Go find the best tools. There are companies out there that are doing that right now. Okay? Get the customer's help. Tell them right up front you need their help. Tell them what to expect. Set the proper expectations. Reduce the cycle time. Speed thrills, right? And speed kills, but your percentages goes up the shorter you are. Every day after, I think, 40 days, you lose a point in your placement ratio, okay? Micro every case. Unfortunately, carriers they have too much business, and it's run like the DMV in a lot of places. Approximately 10% of all cases die on the bind. Never carrier finalized. So that's your opportunity to track everything religiously throughout the entire process. Bucket 5, approved to paid AOTAs. Master this new sale. It's a huge upside. I'd rather have 100% of a smaller premium than 0% of a larger one. Don't be greedy. Bring the premium down. When they come back and they go from preferred to standard, bring the premium down with a term duration. Be on their side. Close your AOTAs. There's lots of tips on that. Delivery requirements. Create urgency. It's only good for this many days. Get a timestamp and tell them it's due next Tuesday. It's due on the 13th. You have to create urgency. Otherwise, literally 3 to 5% never, ever go paid. E-delivery, make it fast and easy. There are so many tools out there. They're not expensive. Carriers are giving some of the stuff away. There's lots of BGAs and agencies that are deploying all the E stuff. Use it. We talked about the beneficiaries. I'm a huge believer in that. Monetize the declines. Monetize the declines. Don't just walk away from money. Sell a final expense, sell AD&D, sell something else. Cross over into a whole other product line. They're your customer. Give them something. Enforce. I don't know why we're not selling more products to the same people. You know, the auto guys, that's what they live for, right? You sell your car, then they get the home, then they get the umbrella, then, you know, whatever. Same thing here. We need to be cross-selling. They already trust you. They've already gone through the process. Sell them more products. Enhance your portfolio. Referrals. It's a lost art. Ask for referrals. Who else can I help? I've told you those stories. I literally had the phone pass around at a fireman station. All you have to do is ASK to GET. If you don't ASK, you're never going to GET. My theory on why the beautiful girl is always standing alone at the high school dance, because nobody goes up and asks her. Ask for referrals. Okay, we're just about wrapped up here, but metrics. It means more than money, okay? You're already really good. You know, you're consistently above average. I know everybody here. You know, if you were terrible, you wouldn't be here. If you were a superstar, you probably wouldn't be here either. Okay, you get hits most of your time up. You're regarded on your team. You know, your wife, your partners, they think you're pretty good. Probably batting 5th or 6th. You're not in the cleanup spot. You're not batting 3, 4, or 5. How do you make those improvements, right? So that's really what it is. Look at the buckets. Look at your CAC. Look at your close rate. Look at your average premium. Where in those 3 can you make an improvement? All you need is 2 to really be successful. Honestly, I don't know one direct marketer that does all 3 really well. They either have a low premium, but their marketing is low and their version is okay, or they have high premium, but they have high marketing costs. It's those 3 factors together. So figure out where you want to play. You can play lots of different ways. There's no direct marketer out there that does exactly the same thing. There is no cookie cutter. We all think they're kind of the same. They're very, very different. Okay? So you have an opportunity to make huge improvements, but you need to put in the time. That's just a given. That's the baseline. All the incremental improvements come from your study, from your practice. Okay? You want to make the all-stars, you got to put in the time. These guys live and breathe it. They wake up early in the morning, they go after it all day long. Okay? So how are you going to do it? You're going to play MoneyBall. Look at your metrics. Study your numbers. Know where you are. Where are you falling down right now? Either avoid those, don't go after that anymore, or make significant improvements. But I bet you in one of your metric buckets, you have some holes there. So improve it. The other one is accentuate your strengths. If you're doing 1, 2, 2 things really, really well, start mastering that. Do that more, and then share with your other partners. Okay? So call your shot. Set your new goals for yourself. Stretch goals. What do you want to do starting today, starting tomorrow, for next week? Okay? I'm here to help. That's what I love to do, is to help companies build, grow, and improve. So if you need my help, I'm here for you. You have my information. I love to see return. I generally like to promise people you'll get a minimum 10x return on your investment when you work with me. So I can help grow agencies. I build infrastructures, sales and training. You know, I love the coaching aspect of it. Any of the deployment of technology and the tools that are out there, I can either give you access to or to help you build it. In terms of your marketing plans, that's the creative side that I so love. Your campaigns, how do you touch your customer, creating better process efficiency, and then expanding your distribution. Whatever your channel is right now, can you expand that? Yes. And then I'll help you improve your profit, your metrics, and ultimately your profitability, because that's what it comes down to. So we're right at the hour. I thank everybody for their attention and their time. It really is a pleasure getting to speak with you. So everybody, if you have any questions, as Jeff indicated, feel free to contact either one of us. We'll be happy to go over anything that you have. And if you want to continue to utilize our service, let us know. And as Jeff indicated, we will be doing some more seminars over the summer.
Yeah, thanks so much, Todd. And just to kind of drive the point home here, any sort of weaknesses, anything on this webinar that, you feel like you need a lot of help with, contact Todd about that. He's a consultant, like he knows more about the data and the industry than anybody I know here. So we'll be doing 3 more of these webinars. I believe the next one is going to be about actually marketing to your in-force client base. Is that the one we're doing next, Todd?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll do that one next month, and appreciate everybody hopping on this webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jeff, again.
Yep.